Hey everybody, Jonathan Fox here. I'm in lovely Colorama here in Washington, D.C. And in today's episode, I want to break down all the ways that the real estate transaction works from the buyer's perspective. I get a lot of questions. Well, what happens after I find the perfect house? There's a number of activities that happen between then and closing. So in today's show, I'm going to talk to you, my buyers out there, and explain directly in plain English how this transaction works and ultimately what you need to know in order to be successful. It's quite simple. Let's jump right in. Number one, you find that perfect home. You got to look at it in two different ways. From the buyer's perspective, you have a deal where you can ask for your best price, right? You ask the seller for a discount, your best price. Or number two, you can ask for a price, but also for the seller to contribute toward your closing costs. They're two separate things. And as a buyer, you need to know this quite simply. You have your down payment, whether that's 3, 5, 10, 20%, but you also have at least 2% in closing costs. For instance, in Washington, D.C., where we are right now in beautiful Colorama, you have a 1.5% transfer recordation tax, which simply goes to Uncle Sam for the privilege of buying real estate in the district. And this is true in Maryland and Virginia as well. So right there is a 1.5% that you need to budget above your down payment. So you can ask the seller to potentially contribute toward your closing costs. That's something we do all the time. So when structuring the offer, you have at least 2%, but often more like 3% in closing costs, and then you have your best price. So let's just say congratulations, you have a meeting of the mind. Buyer and seller come together, you have a ratified contract. What happens next? You have first your inspections. So I'm going to break this down quite easily. Most buyers, if not all, get a home inspection. It's a really good idea. It's a visual inspection. You allot a certain amount of days that you can complete that inspection. Here's the beauty of it. If you write a 7-day home inspection contingency, which is very standard, that means you have 7 days to get an inspector to go through the property and really solidify that decision. You'll go through it with a fine-tooth comb, but also you have to know this as a buyer. During that period of time, you have all of the rights. You can withdraw from that transaction for any reason, whether it's you found something in the inspection that you didn't like, you've changed your mind about the condition of the property. You don't have to give a great explanation. You just have to send over an addendum withdrawing from the transaction. So proceed with confidence when you write the offer because you know you have this inspection coming up. Let's say you get through the home inspection though. Congratulations. You ask the seller to contribute towards some of the items that you found that needed repairing. You have a couple more inspections to worry about. You have a termite inspection, which is typically required by all lenders. It's $35 just to make sure there's no termites eating up the property. You also can do a radon inspection, which is, radon's an invisible gas that comes through the ground. It's latent in the atmosphere and ultimately it's very prevalent in our area. So people do like to inspect for that. It's an invisible gas, it's harmful to breathe. So you have a radon inspection contingency as well. Last, you can also do a mold, and there's a couple other inspections that you can always go forward. But at the end of the day, you got to get through these inspections. That's the first thing that occurs. Once you get through that, congratulations. You have a couple more hurdles to get through until you get to that settlement 30 or 45 days away. Number two, you have an appraisal that happens. The appraisal contingency is something that you probably wrote in your offer. And obviously, check with your agent on how you're structuring this offer. But assuming you're getting a loan, you're going to have an appraiser come out, and there's someone who represents the bank's interest to make sure that you didn't overpay for the property. Quite simple. They go out with a clipboard, look at the comps, look at the overall property, and render a report. That report goes directly to the buyer and seller, and hopefully that report came in at value. Whatever the contracted price is, that's what the appraisal came in. If it comes in above or below, you have some things you need to do. Really, as a buyer, coming in below is what you want because that gives you some more leverage in the transaction, but we don't have time to get into that. But just know that the appraisal needs to happen. It's a requirement of the transaction. It takes time. The bank needs to order it. There's red tape, there's bureaucracy, there's all this stuff with any step in this transaction. But once you get through the appraisal, congratulations, you still have a few more things to go. The next thing you're doing is you're working directly with your lender, submitting your tax returns, submitting your pay stubs, submitting piles of paperwork you need to sign, and so you're working through what is really considered the financial contingency of the transaction, right? So hopefully you're on top of it as a buyer, but that all takes time. You need to submit your stuff. The bank's underwriters look at all the paperwork, make sure all your I's are dotted, T's are crossed. And so getting through the appraisal and then the financial contingency are big deals. And you're almost there at that point. Now you're working with the title company, and they're the third party that doesn't represent the buyer or the seller. They're just taking care of the transaction and making sure everything is going to closing. They're ordering title work, making sure the deed is clear, making sure that everything is legal, above board, that everyone's documentation is submitted, because they're going to package this all up and submit it to the land records. So you're working with your title company to get all this stuff, and they're coordinating these final details, ordering payoffs, making sure your certified funds for your down payment is submitted, your earnest money deposit, which you submitted when you first wrote the transaction, is deposited and held in escrow. I mean, they're going through all this stuff. So the last step you're working through is with the title company to make sure that everything is rocking and rolling directly to closing. And if you've gone through the offer period, you get a